because we know the idea of combining our PH1 RNA splicing modulating payload with their TOP1, potentially best in class TOP1 payload inhibitor, has a chance to create a perfect storm of destruction for cancer cells.
Welcome back and thank you for joining us for another Virtual Investor What This Means segment. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR and I will be the moderator. Today we're excited to welcome back Akari Therapeutics to our Virtual Investor platform. And I am very pleased to be joined by Abizer Gaslightwala. He's Director, President, and CEO of Akari Therapeutics. Welcome back, Abizer.
Great. Thanks for having me, Janine. Great to be here.
Before we get started, I just want to inform our audience that Akari Therapeutics is listed on NASDAQ and trades under the ticker AKTX. And during today's discussion, the company will be making forward-looking statements, and I encourage everyone to view the company's latest SEC filings on their website at akaritx.com for the latest information. So I'm going to give a little bit of background, Abizer, before we get started, just for our audience so they can understand what we're trying to accomplish here and how we're trying to inform them. So the Akari recently announced a strategic research collaboration with Whitehawk Therapeutics to evaluate its proprietary PH1 RNA splicing payload technology in combination with Whitehawk's TOP1 inhibitor ADC platform. So while the collaboration begins with focused preclinical research, it also represents another step in expanding the potential application of Akari's differentiated PH1 payload technology. So the announcement also comes amid growing industry interest in novel ADC payload technologies, highlighted by Novartis's recently announced agreement to acquire Mirix Bio for up to $1.5 billion. The transaction further highlights the industry's growing focus on innovative payload classes that may address resistance associated with widely used topoisomerase 1 and microtubule inhibitor payloads. So today we will discuss why this collaboration is important, what it can mean for the future of Akari's ADC platform, and how it supports the company's long-term strategy. So Abizer, now with all that behind us, we can dive right in. Can you explain what attracted Akari to Whitehawk Therapeutics as a collaboration partner? Also, what makes this collaboration strategically important? What are the terms, and why is now the right time to begin exploring dual payload ADC approaches?
Sure. Well, great, Janine. As you mentioned, the time is now. As we continue to see a wave of innovation across the ADC space, in particular on novel payloads, and as you mentioned, the Novartis Mirix deal that was done recently about 2 weeks ago, it really highlights this increasing interest in the payload technology or the ADCs to drive a new wave of ADCs and innovation to transform this hot category within oncology. In particular, dual payload is really the idea of driving two shots on goal to actually have better efficacies in a synergistic way. So think about 1 plus 1 equaling 4, not 1 plus 1 equaling 2. And that's what we attracted us to Whitehawk in particular, because we know the idea of combining our PH1 RNA splicing modulating payload with their TOP1, potentially best in class TOP1 payload inhibitor, has a chance to create a perfect storm of destruction for cancer cells, and in particular, impacting the stress on them on the unique DNA RNA junction of how cancer cells survive and grow. And these two unique biologies of these payload combining together have an opportunity to get the most robust efficacy we've seen with payloads in the ADC space. So that's a really exciting concept. That's a concept unique to our payload with the Topo 1 payloads, in particular Whitehawks. So that's where we're excited to explore the potential of that. In terms of how we structured the research agreement with Whitehawk, the terms are that Akari will design and execute these experiments with financial support from Whitehawk to execute these experiments, but also importantly, their thought leadership to help ensure we can maximize the value of these experiments to get us the data to move forward as well.
Appreciate that background, Abizer. Certainly exciting. So, one of the unique aspects of this collaboration is that it combines two differentiated payload technologies rather than focusing on a single ADC platform. Can you explain why combining PH1's RNA splicing mechanism with Whitehawk's TOP1 inhibitor technology could potentially create opportunities?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier in the biology, this is really what's exciting. So we're actually working not with just any TOP1 inhibitor, working with Whitehawk. In particular, we believe they may have a potentially best-in-class TOP1 inhibitor based on the chemistry, the conjugation, the linker system of they're using with their payload that would ideally pair again with our biology around RNA splicing modulation, our PH1 payload. So as we talked about that perfect storm of creating the extreme stress on cancer cells by attacking both DNA and RNA in the cancer cell. That's a really unique way to attack cancer. So that enables us to have a very unique biology to go after cancer. What that leads to in terms of a so what is that if we can demonstrate unique synergy, again, that 1 + 1 = 4 effect of these two payloads, we can put those dual payloads not just on one antibody, potentially the opportunity to create a library, a range of ADCs that go after many different targets. That's what's really exciting, that we can demonstrate the synergy of the payloads, but then apply that to many different ADC molecules moving forward.
The announcement notes that the companies will jointly evaluate the results of these studies to determine whether they support broader development opportunities. So, how should investors think about the potential next steps if the collaboration produces encouraging data? And could this open the door for additional research collaborations or future strategic partnerships?
Sure, absolutely. So I think we want to take baby steps and get the data as we get it. So essentially, we're going to design these experiments, run them, look at this first wave of data, and based on compelling results, we will then evaluate the next phase of experiments. That could include creating new potential ADC molecules. It could include creating a range of other ADC molecules, not one but many. But again, I don't want to get too far ahead. Let's start with the basic results. When they're compelling, we will talk to Whitehawk and then figure out where we want to go together as partners on this and into potential into very exciting opportunity around ADC molecules in particular. Again, we think this sets the framework for how you think about combining our unique PH1 payload with other modalities and other payloads to create some novel molecules in this space.
So, Abizer, the last year has been filled with operational and strategic execution. So, stepping back, this announcement follows several important milestones for Akari, including your partnership with Wuxi XTC, continued progress towards IND enabling studies for your lead program, AKTX 101, and now this collaboration with Whitehawk. So, it also comes at a time, as we discussed, when major pharmaceutical companies are placing increasing strategic value and writing big checks for novel ADC payload platforms. How do these developments fit together as part of Akari's broader strategy to build a differentiated ADC platform with multiple long term growth opportunities?
Yeah, great question. Again, want to go back to the basics, ultimately about how we think we can drive value with this payload. It comes back down to two tenets that we've always said. One, how do we continue to advance our PH1 payload on our internal candidates, namely AKTX 101 is our lead ADC candidate targeting TROP2. We want to continue to validate and advance our PH1 payload on that ADC construct as we continue to march towards phase one clinical trials in 2027. So we're going to stay focused on that, and that is our steadfast mission to validate the value of this payload and its impact. Secondly, we've always said that there's value in partnerships, in payload partnerships, in building ADCs outside of Akari with partners using their antibodies, their constructs with our payload. Dual payloads fit within this paradigm of partnerships. Actually, a perfect example of marrying two different complementary technologies. So, in a sense, as we continue to show the power of differentiated novel payloads and the opportunities and interests from many other partners, we think we're at the beginning of what we think could be many different partnerships around this PH1 technology in parallel to our own internal candidates. So, really exciting times, and stay tuned for more progress.
Certainly an exciting time for Akari Therapeutics, and can't wait to have you back to showcase your progress, Abizer. And with that, this concludes the Virtual Investor What This Means segment featuring Akari Therapeutics. I'd like to thank Abizer for joining us today. And as a reminder, Akari Therapeutics trades on NASDAQ under the ticker AKTX. And if you like what you saw today, I encourage you to visit akaritx.com for more information on the company and to sign up to follow the company to receive their alerts, as well as follow their social channels to stay current on the latest information. Thanks again, Abizer. Thanks to our audience, and I wish everyone a great rest of your day.